to this week's Weekly Mini, your bite-sized workshop on the hottest acro topics. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer those for you in follow-up. And if you know another teacher who should hear about today's topic, be a friend, tag them right now, and let them know we're here. Today, we're thrilled to bring you Acrobatic Arts Master Teacher Kate Evans with your answers to a common question around how to effectively teach a class with multiple level of AcroDance students. Kate is a course conductor and examiner both for acrobatic arts and aerial arts. She is a registered RAD ballet teacher and dance jazz, contemporary tap, and ballet teacher, and has over 20 years experience teaching and running her own dance, acro, and aerial studio. She holds a Bachelor of Psychology and is a course conductor for Alexa Flexibility. Kate has a passion for the biomechanics of dance, acro, aerial, and endorsing safe and progressive dance, acro, and aerial training. And lucky for us, teachers, you are in store for a well-rounded discussion that will take you from the theoretical to the practical. So sit back, grab your notepad, and get ready for this best of weekly mini presentation backed by popular demand that will have you set up for success. Remember, you can reference all of our previous weekly minis and more amazing content on the AcroDance Resource Center. Let's welcome Kate and cue her up.
Hi guys, I'm super excited to be here again today to give you some tips and tricks that I can share on teaching multiple levels in one class. Well guys, I have to say, I know the feeling all too well. Whether you've been teaching for 20 years or just starting your teaching journey, the panic that runs through our body when we hear the news we are teaching multiple levels in one class is inevitable. Where do we start? Today, I hope to give you some ideas to get started, some tips and tricks I use in my classroom when teaching multi-level classes. Before I get started, and in case you can't tune in to the end, I'm going to break tradition and give you the key to success. The reality is a one-level class can have just as big of an ability spread as a multi-level class. Think of your class as a range of abilities rather than 2 or 3 different levels. Teachers actually manage workloads for a range of ages and abilities in any given class, not just a multi-level class. Students may start their training later than others. Some students may be brilliant at flexibility, but average at tumbling, while others have the complete opposite set of skills and struggles. Some students are better at working independently, while others need things broken down into very bite-sized bits. So teachers, you are already proficient multi-level masters. You are already looking at each individual student, responding to their needs and ensuring they have the progression required to master all the skills over the 5 areas within the syllabus guidelines. Essentially, our goal is the same, regardless of the class composition, to work to meet each student where they are on their learning journey and to help move them along in the way they learn best, regardless of their grade or level. You all have an amazing ability to find and implement creative ways to inspire, teach, and progress your students. Just trust yourself and take a breath. Multi-level instruction is the process of teaching one concept to the class, while allowing for varying outcomes for an individual student. In other words, multi-level instruction allows teachers to deliver instructions to an entire class comprised of lots of different proficiency levels, therefore allowing you to respond to any student who may require different instruction, whether that be below or beyond the current learner objective. Here is an example of a multi-level instruction in a bridge. In this bridge, this is something you may see in a multi-level class from primary to level 2. You can see we have a baby bridge, which comes in primary, and then we have a centered bridge, which would fall in level 2 and possibly level 1. And then we have a drill that we could use in a multi-level class for this skill, which is a bridge with a stack, working to progress shoulder flexibility and work to get those armpits more in line. Here is a different example of what you might expect from a level 3 to level 6 multi-level class. Here we have a bridge with the shoulders in line, a bridge with the shoulders past the wrists, and then a bridge on elbows. Here is an example of how to train handstands in a multi-level class. You see the small student down on the front of the screen who's using the stack of mats to get that first understanding of stacking. We then progress the straight handstand with a pike at the hips, moving into a perfectly vertical straight handstand, and then we can add a small cane, a little bit of elevation to progress the stacking, and then even more with the taller canes. Multi-level instruction is a critical skill for all teachers, regardless of whether the class is multi-level or not. When teachers adjust the learner outcomes for those who require it, students don't become bored from the lack of the challenge or disengage in a lesson that's far too difficult that becomes frustrating. Multi-level instruction provides success for every student within rigorous standards and acknowledges diverse student learner characteristics. When faced with the challenge of a multi-level classroom, many teachers do not know where to start. They fear that the preparation will take much longer, class management will be much more difficult, and the outcomes and progression will be negatively impacting. This can often be paralysing. Often studios that have multi-level classes have variables such as budget, time constraints, teacher availability, and limited student enrolment numbers as limitations that often lead to the decision of a combined or multi-level class. These limitations can weigh heavily on the teacher and add to the anxiety in class preparation. However, by looking at the advantages of the multi-level classroom and employing strategies to overcome the challenges, teachers and studio owners and students and parents will see that not only can they achieve success and progression, but the advantages can often far outweigh the disadvantages. Multiple studies conclude it makes no difference to performance whether students are in a single level class or in a multi-level class. Experts agree the most important factor in determining how well a student does is the quality of the teacher and their teaching. Multi-level classes have been shown to provide benefits to all levels of the students in the class. More advanced students often take on a mentoring role and benefit from helping lower level students in a cooperative learning situation, whilst lower level students gain confidence and encouragement from working this relationship. They have a role model to look up to and strive toward, as well as a human demonstrator to visually cue them. A more experienced student is able to practice and reinforce their own skills as they teach them to the lower level students. Similarly, higher level students provide a model of appropriate behaviour and work ethic for the lower level students. This means less behaviour problems in the classroom because lower level students integrate quickly into established class routines as modelled by more experienced students. Lower level students are able to seek help from a wider range of people rather than relying on the teacher to help them all the time. One of the key benefits that I really value the most is changing the focus of learning from achieving a certain level to achieving individual personal best. This alters the nature of the learning experience to lead students to value learning and value the learning process. In other words, strive for progression instead of perfection. Students will develop a greater respect for individual differences within themselves as well as within their classmates. One of the first things you should do when assigned to a multi-level class is determine the needs of the individual students. If possible, this should be done before the first class. A quick and efficient way to assess your students is to look at their bridge, handstand, and cartwheel technique. The progression cards in acrobatic arts are a great tool for assessment as well as goal setting. They also provide regular feedback to the parents on their students' progress throughout the term. Collaboration between parents and teachers, although often frustrating, is absolutely crucial to a student's success. Try to create an open path of communication so parents can come to you with concerns, and you can do the same. When a teacher and parent present a united front, there is a lower chance that your student could fall through the cracks. This will give you a reasonable starting point for your classes. Once you have an assessment of each student's rough level of proficiency, you can set short and long-term goals for your students, as well as plan your classes much more effectively. The key to achieving progression and hitting goals requires good understanding and knowledge of the syllabus and each skill's progression. How do you know if you are driving the right way when you are traveling somewhere new? You use the road signs and a map, although nowadays I guess it's probably Siri or a GPS. To achieve progression, your goals for your students act as the road signs to your destination. Your plan is the map, and our map is the progression charts. Making a plan does not suggest a lack of creativity in your curriculum, but rather it gives creativity a framework to which it can flourish. Couple your map with balanced flex and strength development, and voila, your students are all of a sudden hitting goals. Always remember, our acrobatic skills on our map that serve as the stepping stones or short-term goals towards our long-term goals must be supported by drills. Drills are different to skills. To achieve skills, we need drills. This is what makes up a good portion of the class. Good teachers need to know their craft. In addition to the methodology of teaching, you need to try to master your subject area. Learn, and never stop learning. Always try to stay curious. Always try to start your class with a warm-up or a cardio that involves the entire class. This could be cardio time split into the different levels. It could be circuits with a superstar option or relays. All these resources can be found on the ARDC app for acrobatic arts. From there, we break the class off into different learning models. This will depend on your class structure. Utilize as many resources and props as possible in this section. Level cards, bean bags, scarves, stack mats, wedge mats, hand balancing canes, blocks. Using props provides a spot in many instances, assisting the students to initiate the correct muscles to execute the movement. Textures, colours, and change ignites the brain with excitement and adventure and helps to assist the students sometimes with that light bulb moment. Remember, our studios are like an ever-evolving dynamic. Depending on the day, the attendance roster, and the phase of the moon, you might have to change up your plans or your schedule to accommodate your students. As they grow and change, your methods might need to as well. Make connecting and progressing with your student your main goal, and you'll have no trouble changing it up as time moves on. Here is an example of tracks or runs. This is the part of the class that we move into next. In a track or a run, this combines independent learning, working in pairs, and working with the teacher at a spotting station. Here is a different layout. This is a circular circuit. This combines independent learning and working in small groups and a spotting station. Next, you incorporate your flexibility for progression. This can involve independent learning, working in pairs, or whole class learning led by the teacher. Finally, bring the whole class back together for a whole group activity or game, followed by a cool down. Try not to be too serious. Some days, fun should be the goal. When students feel and see your humanness, it builds a foundation of trust and respect. Fun and learning aren't mutually exclusive either. Using humour can make even the most mundane topic seem more interesting. Successful teachers expect their students to succeed. This concept is similar for parents too. Students need someone to believe in them. They need a wiser, older person to put stock in their abilities. Set the bar high and then create a culture and environment where it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to fail. This will motivate your students to keep trying until they reach the expectation you've set for them. Celebrate the small gains. Strive for progression instead of perfection. When I first introduced acrobatic arts into my studio, my classes were divided into junior, intermediate, and senior. I was right in the thick of how will I ever make this work? Now I have developed my program and I choose to have a multi-level class scheduled in deliberately every single week. Each week, the structure is slightly different, but I always have a strong focus on progressing bridge, handstand, and cartwheel technique. Keeping that as a central focus, I flesh out the drills around this and then progress to skills for the last quarter of the class. I have found best success and progression with this method. Remembering that banging out the same skill 50 million times is just going to fatigue your dancer. Know what you are trying to achieve with each individual student. Then break the skill up into drills to improve each element of the skill, and then attempt to put it all back together. This also keeps the students and parents happy, as we are always working towards that popular, more difficult skill. Then we would move into a whole group learning level after we've done our cardio and our warm-up. Here is an example of a multi-level bridge technique warm-up. Here we're looking at the skill of a push-up to bridge. A push-up to bridge would incorporate all levels of the bridge. We start off encouraging the students to push up to their best bridge and then strive for progression. Following this, I often use a kneeling half bridge in my multi-level classes to help the students open through the upper back, shoulders, and hips. For students not quite at this proficiency, they do this at the wall to help maintain postural alignment. And you can see the little ones up against the wall doing the kneeling half bridge. In this class, we have a range of levels from level 2 up to pre-professional 2. Following this, I aim to work on the transfer of weight in a bridge. Here is an example of bridge prances at different levels. We have some students doing the drill in a baby bridge, whilst my higher level students do the skill at level. Similarly, we have a lower level students doing a bridge with kick and jump in a baby bridge at the front near the mirror. And then we have the higher level students doing bridge prances with straight legs. I always incorporate a bridge recover at level in this section. This is where every student works independently at their level. This is an example of a multi-level group doing a bridge recover. Some of the students are using the wall, whilst others are working on control in the centre. From here, I work on progressing the students with their handstand technique, and this is done as a whole group. This is an example of a multi-level class working on different levels of their handstand techniques. We have some at L handstands at the front, then others at pre-handstands toward the centre, then straight handstands, and then curved handstands. A progression step I always love to use in my handstand section is working on verticality and stacking in the centre. This is where I like to train all levels on the needle or the 12 o'clock position. I find this will assist them to progress their verticality and balance. This is a really great drill for all students, no matter what level of handstand they are. I also like to encourage them the position of the hands and stacking. I cue them, all the students, no matter what the level, to reiterate that position of the thumbs kissing, spider fingers, and pushing out from the shoulders. And then we add together that really strong stacking of the hands and the shoulders with finding the needle and progressing verticality. Another option for this section in multi-level classes is adding movement into their stacked handstands, whatever level that may be. The drill on the screen shows lots of different levels. We have the first student right down on hands and knees, and that would be a primary level. Then we progress it to a full plank, and then into a pike handstand, and then into a straight handstand, and then we progress to a straight handstand with double blocks, which would be more like a pre-professional 2 level. Using the alignment and the technique established in both the bridge and the handstand sections, we then move into an independent learning at level section. I use a variety of different layouts to achieve this. One option, as demonstrated in the video, is what I like to call tracks. This is where our syllabus skills come in. Something that can be detrimental to your acro class is students spending too much time waiting around. Not only does this make class management difficult, it also means the students aren't getting enough out of their classes. Utilising mats, floor space, and wall space can ensure your class runs smoothly without students standing around. Keeping the students on their hands for as much class time as possible will also build their strength and endurance. So we see what I like to call track 1 is the mirror side wall. Here we would do wall sits, handstand holds, blocking drills, forearm stands, and headstands. Track 2 is the space between the wall and the first mat. Here we would do crab walk, bear walk, inchworm, bridge walk. We then have our first run of mats. This is track 3. Here I would progress a certain skill, for example, rolls. We have the somersault, a forward roll pike, a forward roll, a straddle roll, a handstand forward roll, an Arabian forward roll. Then we have the space between the center of the 2 mats. Here we would train hops, gallops, and hurdles. Then finally, our second mat. On this mat, we will do limbering skills at each student's level, and this is also a mat where I provide a spot. Then what we would do is start the track again and move through tumbling instead of limbering. After this, we would move into a whole group flexibility for progression section. This is where I'd plug in 2 or 3 elixir flexibility stretches from either module 1, 2, or 3, depending on where the student's level is, and giving them a few options. From there, we would do a whole group cool down and back recovery. This is a different layout you can use instead of a track or a run. This is a circular circuit. Here, we would still start with our group warm-up and our bridge and handstand technique sections. Then we would move to our circular circuit, using station cards placed at each rotation to cue the students what to do. This is similar to stacks, but set up in stations and working in small groups or pairs, depending on your student numbers. This calls on teamwork, where one student does the drill or skill and the other provides feedback and encouragement. Stations 1, 2, 3, and 4 use the perimeter of the classroom, with the mat set up across the centre. Each station could be 5 or 10 minutes, depending on your class time, and I suggest you using a timer or a signal for them to change rotations. Here we have station 1 up the front near the mirror. This is bridge drills for limbering, where we could have, depending on the level of the students, you can see 2 different levels. We have hip lifts, bridge kick off a stack. We could have walking up and down the wall with 1 foot if they're higher level, or 2 feet. We can have bridge hands up for more advanced students, bridge feet up for less advanced, bridge prances. Next, we have the handstand drills for tumbling, and that's over by the wedge. Here we would do lots of different levels of skills for the different students depending on where they're at. An example of things we could do here is blocking on the floor, right up to blocking on the wall, and that's your blocking drills. We could do handstand shoulder touches or plank shoulder touches. We could have hand balancing on canes. We can have hands up, up, down, down in a plank on blocks on the floor or up against the wall. And then we can use the wedge for handstand snap downs. You could use the donkey kick drill in a plank or your jumping ants. From here, we go to our drills for balancing, and that's at the front of your screen. This is where we would do our A-frame drills for forearm stands, our L handstands and a forearm stands to find the balance point. We'd use headstands in an A-frame. We'd do our chest stand drills, ranging up right from the start all the way up to build up to the chest stands, depending on the student's level. We could do our scorpions, our leg holds, our seated double leg holds. Finally, we have station 4. This is a short mat run, and that's in the far corner of your screen. This is a spotting station where the student brings to you 1 limbering and 1 tumbling skill that we can work on with a spot to effectively improve the skill through spotting. Through the centre, we have stations 5 and station 6. These are mat runs where the students do their limbering skills at their level independently. Again, we would finish the class exactly the same as the tracks, finishing off a flexibility for progression section as a whole group, and then going into a nice cool down and a back recovery. Finally, I'd like to encourage you to stay positive. Remember, successful teachers have a positive attitude. Negative energy zaps creativity, and it makes a nice breeding ground for fear or failure. Aim to be upbeat, have a sense of vitality and energy, and try to see past those momentary setbacks to the end goal. Positivity breeds creativity and progression. Aim for the mindset that this is going to be a great experience, not just for the students, but for you as well. All right, guys, that's the end of my presentation today. I'd like to thank you so much for having me. I hope I have inspired you with some new tips and ideas to get planning on your multi-level classes. Remember, you all have an amazing ability to find and implement creative ways to inspire, teach, and progress your students. Trust yourself and take a breath.
Amazing, Kate. Once again, no stone left unturned. Lots for you there, teachers. I know you're going to want to go back and watch that. So remember, this lives live on our Facebook feed now as recorded. You can find it on the AcroDance Resource Center as well as on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Kate. Incredible. Now, if you're interested in learning more and working with master trainers and skilled professionals like Kate Evans, visit acrobaticarts.com for upcoming opportunities both in person and online. And keep in mind, for our friends in Australia, the Australia tour is coming this January. Spots will go fast. Don't miss out. Book today. I'll put the link in the comments now. Thank you again, Kate. Thank you again, teachers. Join us again next time. Bye.